Yes! Woo! Man, we are less than all right. There we go. There we go. Oh my God. Corey, aka the Red Sea, finally able to catch one of these, man. Yeah. Hey man, I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here, man. I have been dying to hear from you. I've really been dying to hear from you. Because I want to know what you think of your Arizona Cardinals. And yeah, bear with me here. Having some technical difficulties. How on the flying? Well, you know what? Oh man, yeah. I'm actually really excited about what your Arizona Cardinals are going to do next week. I'm going to have a 2-round mock draft with some trades. So your Arizona Cardinals could be involved in some trades. Your Arizona Cardinals will be involved in some trades, but likely going to get a Godfather offer from Minnesota. But I just want to stay and pick MHJ. So that's what I have doing. Now keep in mind there's no trades in my mock draft. So that's what I have Arizona doing at 4 is just picking MHJ. Next week, I'm going to do a 2-round mock, and I still think you stay at 4. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm starting to think I like Rome Odunze better than MHJ, and I do like him better, but I still would go with MHJ. And by the way, there's a Corey Reeder. He works for the NFL Network. He has a 4-round mock draft. And it's really good. So he had the Arizona Cardinals going from 4. He gets 11 and 23 from Minnesota, and then goes 11-8, switching with Atlanta. And at 8, he ends up getting you get Rome Odunze. And I don't hate that, but I don't see Arizona trading down. Now, this is where I'd like to get your opinion because I'm not going to show you the notes, and you have to wait till Monday. You have to wait till next Monday mock draft. But I think that a trade down at 27. Not the one I'm doing Monday. Not the one I'm doing Monday. I think the one. The one you saw. Okay, the Corey Reuter 4-round mock. Yeah. I didn't see any logic. I'll be honest with you. If I'm Arizona, I don't see any logic getting out of 4. Yeah, I don't see any logic in getting out of 4, but I do see a lot of logic in moving up to 27. So, Funk, welcome. I'm still a Neighbors guy. Yeah, and it's funny because here's a drill. More and more people are coming out saying MHJ is not my number 1 receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. Some say it's Neighbors. I like Odunze better, but if I'm Arizona, I think you take MHJ. And, oh, my God, the B in the Back Talk Brothers, the great one, the talent, Gooch. Hey Gooch, I sent you a DM you never responded to, but if you're up later tonight, hit me up. I do want to talk to you. Nothing I want to talk about on this, but private matter. But yeah, man, I'm so glad to have the be in the Back Talk Brothers. So Keys was so jealous of how awesome my mock draft was. He didn't want to come on today. That is a true story. Red Sea, and this is really interesting. This is kind of why I want you and possibly your Patriots friend who I'm drawing a blank on. I'd love to have you come on and talk some draft here. Because this is the type of information I know. I love Neighbors as a prospect, but I absolutely hate the fit in our new offense. So I think Rome Odunze might be a great fit. And here's the deal. Ever since Odunze's been mocked or compared to Larry Fitzgerald, I want to put him there. So shoot me a text and let me call you back because I after seeing this comment, so I get my phone calls. Some of them I get screened out if I don't have the number recognized. Shoot me a text and let me call you back. I'll be on for the draft the whole time. We will make it a party. If you want to do all 6 hours, Bufa did last year. It's a lot harder than you think. It's a lot harder than you think. If you don't want to do 6, you don't have to, but be ready. It's been a rough couple of days, so I ate a lot of junk food the last 2 days. So right before I came on the air, I ate a whole 2 bags of microwave popcorn, so my mouth is really dry. And then I was a little late because I was getting all that stuff out between your teeth, and I'm still like, as I'm talking, I realize that I still got to do some more flossing. Yeah, I got to quit eating microwave popcorn. Not doing that. I had a bad couple of days, ate some junk food. I'm back. I'm not eating junk food, but I am drinking an energy drink, as you can tell. So, yeah. I like Odunze in your offense. I like Odunze. And the reason why I like Odunze a little more than I like MHJ is I think Odunze is a little more bigger. I think, and when I say bigger, I'm not talking taller. I mean bigger. MHJ has more height. MHJ has more speed. Odunze, I think, is a better run after the catch guy. I think he's more elusive in the open field, and I really like his physicality. I ever since I've heard that mock to Larry Fitzgerald, it just makes sense. So anyway, if we trade back from 4, we have to trade back up for Odunze with someone in the back half of the top 10 looking at Atlanta. And here's the drill. I think Atlanta, the way I've had every mock draft going, Atlanta can take any single defensive player they want at 8, and I think that's what they're going to do. Now, in my 2-round mock draft with trades, there's a handful of teams, and Atlanta is one of them, that would love to trade back into the last half of the 20s, 30, 31, 32. And I think, to be honest with you, Arizona at 27, I think could trade up. I also think they could trade down. I also think that they could maybe make a move for Theo Reddick. And I don't hate that. But 27 could trade down. More than likely, I think they would trade up. I'm looking at 28 Buffalo. I think could definitely trade down. 29 in Detroit. Detroit's made moves in each of the last 2 years since they brought in Brad Holmes. So Brad Holmes likes to have fun in the draft. Please, Brad Holmes, make the draft entertaining. Trade up or trade down. I think both are possible. Detroit, Baltimore at 30 is always a favorite to trade down. They like doing that. San Francisco at 31, I think could possibly trade up or down. Kansas City at 32, I could see as a candidate to trade up. Originally, I was thinking they would trade down, but I can see where Kansas City says, hey, let's be aggressive this year. So, yeah, early in his career, one thing about Larry Fitzgerald is he really did an excellent job in taking care of his body, kind of put on some extra weight and some extra size. But yeah, I like Rome Odunze a lot, man. I think it's a fair comp, But Fitzgerald was, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how much of a difference I would rate Oduzze and Fitzgerald coming out. To be honest with you, I remember Fitzgerald coming out. I liked, but I wasn't that high on him because he had to stretch. It was. I think it's been broken since then. It was something like 15 or 16 straight games with a touchdown, and Pittsburgh didn't have a lot of great receivers, didn't have a lot of NFL talent. They had this guy who was really highly touted, and he lived up to the hype. If you remember, you guys had Antoine Baldwin. He was a second-round pick, and he was just dominating the NFL. And Larry Fitzgerald was the Robin, I think, until year 3. You'd have to tell me. And then like year 3, I was like, wait a minute, Fitzgerald's better than Bolden, who was just dominating the NFL right away. Then finally Bolden left for Baltimore. Probably not going to go into Canton, even though he's a really good player. Really, really, really good player. But yeah, I think it's fair. Since none of the big three seem realistic for my Lions, Leggett would be a good fit in Detroit. I think he'd be a solid Reynolds replacement. By the way, I love Leggett. And that's a guy, like when I started doing my 2-round mock, I don't have it settled yet. I don't have it settled yet. The 2-round mock, I'm kind of playing around because I got some notes out here. I'm not even going to show you the notes, but I have some notes of trades I want to make in rounds 1 and rounds 2. And I'll be honest with you, Detroit's a team I'm thinking that could move up in round 2. Same with Kansas City, and Leggett's a guy I'm kind of thinking that there's going to be a team somewhere in the 50s that may want to trade up for Leggett. Leggett's a guy that I think most drafts would be a first rounder, but this year I think he goes in the 50s. And I really like his game. I like his size. I like his build. He was a little faster than I thought at the combine. From what little I've seen, reminds me a lot of Deebo Samuel. Both came out of USC, University of South Carolina. So I really like his game. I think Lions fans would love this kid. I think he's listed at 5'11". I think he's 5'10", 5'11", but he's a big dude. He's like 215. I mean, this is a guy 40 years ago, Leggett would have been a running back. So, yeah. Right now, if we trade back to 11 with Minnesota, we move back up to Atlanta for 8 for Oduzze and keep 23 and 27 where we're at. Atlanta can still get any edge rusher they want at 11. Well, see, that's the thing, though, is that there's no guarantee because I think Chicago could take an edge rusher. That's a team I've been mocking an edge rusher to for a long time. So Chicago at 9 could take an edge rusher, or they could trade down, and a team that wants an edge rusher could jump up. I'm looking specifically at the Saints as a team that could use an edge rusher. It's unlikely, really unlikely, especially since they didn't get Snead, but a team like the Colts might be interested because Dallas Turner, in my opinion, is the best defensive player on the board. And I think he's a top 10 player. And I think most years he probably goes a little higher than 8 even. So I think there could be a market. Chicago, I think, would love to trade down at 9. So that's why I wouldn't want to go. If I'm Atlanta and edge rush is your biggest need, I have to take Dallas Turner at 8. I don't see any scenario where Dallas Turner doesn't go 8 to Atlanta unless something happens between now and the draft. And that might be something I'm willing to bet on. And so that's why I think, and I think there's a big difference between Verse, Latu, and Turner. I think Turner's definitely the one. And then, which one you like, Verse or Latu. I look at Latu as more of a guy, even though people are saying he's a 3-4 guy. I think he's more of a pure defensive end. I look at Verse, even though he played more defensive end, I think he's more of a guy that's better suited for a 3-4. So, I mean, if you're Atlanta, maybe you fall in love with a guy like Verse and you're like, hey, look, we like this guy better and we like Turner. I just don't see Atlanta trading down. If you're Arizona and you really want a receiver, I would take your guy at 4. But let's say you do make that trade. what you would need is that receiver to slide the 9, and you'd have to hope that the Bears don't want to pair up Caleb Williams with one of those 3 studs, and I think that's really, really, really a strong possibility that Chicago and Odunze would probably be the guy. I think there's a strong chance if I'm Chicago and I get my quarterback, why not take my wide receiver as well? So I got Keaton Talk Sports. So Keaton told me off the air that my mock draft is way better than his. Keaton, I'm so glad to see you in the chat, man. That makes me very happy here. You're fantastic on the show. One of my buddies even commented that Keaton does a fantastic job on the show. Really complimented you. Thought you did a really good job. And by the way, in my latest video, so I'm trying to take a look at the poll. They've done something different on the polls here. So in my voting, somebody put in, Dan, great video, but I disagree on 10 or more of your picks, and I believe that was Keaton who said that. So I did get a couple of votes of greatest video ever, and I want to have your babies, and I'm 98% sure that's key. So, by the way, Keaton Talk Sports has his own channel and his own mock draft. It's not nearly as good as mine, but it is really good. He has some really good points, and he does a fantastic job when he comes on my show. I've never been invited on Keaton's show, by the way. So, yeah, so I remember him coming out of Pittsburgh. And I remember there was a lot of hype, and then the speed wasn't that good. But a couple of years before Larry Fitzgerald came out, Keyshawn Johnson was the number 1 pick overall, and he was the first in the modern day to be the wide receiver. Actually, not the first. So since Irving Fryer, I think Irvin Fryer went number 1 in 84 or 83. I'm doing that off the top of my head. I don't know. So Keyshawn Johnson went number 1. So it doesn't happen. So people are like kind of comparing, college careers and everything. And he didn't have that type of grade. But he's a better player than Keyshawn Johnson, very underrated. And Irving Fryer had a long career, but was never that dominant type of dude, so. This is why I want to have you on, because we disagree. Leggett should sneak into the first. He's arguably a top 5-6 wide receiver in the draft. That's why I want to have you on, because I disagree. And I'm not saying he's not a top 5 or 6 wide receiver. I just don't think he's going to go in the first round. And unlike most people, I really don't see Kansas City taking a receiver in round 1, which is hearsay in Chiefs Kingdom. I just think they go in another direction. And but I don't think he's going in the first. I would actually bet on that. He's like, that's not most years he would. I think he goes somewhere in the 50s, high 40s. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely, because I think Chicago would take Odunze at 9. Yeah, and that's why if you're Arizona and you're picking at 4, I would take your receiver there. I wouldn't mess around. I would really get your receiver there, and then at 27 play around. So if I'm Chicago at 9, I'm praying Alt is available. God protect the rookie. Yeah. And by the way, I've been mocking the same thing. I think Alt will go to Tennessee, even though I've been mocking Tennessee taking Odunze, and I have Odunze rated higher. I'm not doing a big board this year. I probably should, but I have Odunze ranked higher than Alt. So, and I can see Fasanu also. I can see Fasanu or Alt. Yeah. To me, it looks like most teams are switching to a 3-4 under look. A lot of people call it the 3-4-4-3 hybrid, but it's a 3-4 under. You're right. Funk, you're 100% correct. I've been calling it a hybrid, but you're right. It's a 3-4 under. It really is. It's not really a hybrid. Basically, what it is that you have that fourth linebacker kind of plays a role, kind of sort. God, I wish I had diagrams. The reality is excuse me. I got to quit eating microwave popcorn. I really do. All right. I'm not sure when, but sooner or later, we're going to stop talking 3-4-4-3, and it's going to be 3-3-5-4-2-5. Arizona actually is kind of funny. I was looking it up, and Arizona claims that they run a 4-2-5, which I forget which site it was. I should have sent it to you, Corey, because I want to know your opinion, because I think it's more of a base 3-4 with a ton of nickel coverages. That's what I see. And I've been calling it a hybrid because Kansas City has quietly shifted from a 4-3 under Steve Spagnuolo. They've actually switched to more of a 3-4 look. And a lot of NFL teams are doing that, and it looks like a hybrid, but it's a 3-4 under. Funk nailed it. Funk, God, you're awesome. Funk's on fire today, man. One Pride 40, by the way. One Pride 40 DM'd me saying that I wanted to talk about this. The hip truck tackle or the hip drop tackle is illegal. One Pride doesn't like it. I don't like it. I want to touch base on that. I'm going to read some of these comments. I do want to talk about that. If somebody could bring that up into the chat here in a little bit. Oh my God, the Homeland has arrived. God, I miss Homeland. Homeland, let me ask you this. What are the odds Minnesota gets up to 3? And by the way, let me ask you this. How would you feel about 11-23 this year and the Vikings #1 next year? And the Patriots are going to take Marvin. By the way, the trade up for Penix, I think makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And I really, really, really think it could happen. I really think it could happen. So in the mock draft I made Monday, I made a 2-round mock. The mock draft tool I use, if you're for example Carolina and you trade up, you can't trade up because you're not in round 1, so you got to do a 2-round anyway. So what I did is in my mock draft I released, I didn't make it public, but I did a 2-round draft, and I got Penix sliding all the way to 44 were the Raiders pick. And so the Raiders, in my opinion, would go best tackle prospect available. And I've been flip-flopping because Fat knew Washington tackles from Henderson, where I'm at right now. So he's a Vegas native. And I could see the Raiders taking him. I could see the Raiders taking J.C. Latham. And in round 2 getting Penix. However, I can see a situation where you trade down, get those picks, and then, believe it or not, I can see you guys trading late with either Detroit, bottom 4, Detroit, Baltimore, Kansas City. Yes, even Kansas City. Because one of the things that's been kind of quiet is Kansas City and New England made several trades in the draft over the last couple of years. But I can see a move where New England goes with pick 36 after getting those picks from Minnesota. I can see them using 11 on an offensive tackle. You need a guy on the left side. 23, you could do best player available. And then trade back up again late in the first round and grabbing Penix in, or you can get Penix at 23. But it makes a lot of sense. And I love Penix, by the way. I love Penix. I'm going to star this. I'm going to star this, and I'm going to star this because I want to read some comments, and I want to read this too. So I'm going to star these comments. Keaton, I am definitely going to talk about this. Homeland, I almost hope not. Let's just say you don't have a track record with first round wide receivers. There's a team that can break MHJ. And not, seriously, I really wonder if now that Belichick's gone, if that curse of getting wide receivers, I really wonder how that's gonna affect things, because I definitely think that New England's done a good job adding to their receiving core, believe it or not. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy I absolutely loved here in Kansas City, but I don't think he can stay healthy. Jacoby Myers is a guy I think would be a very solid number 2. You guys got somebody else, and I'm God, how far am I into the show? 26 and a half minutes, and I'm just drawing a blank. You picked up somebody else that I'm not – I don't hate. You signed – oh, yeah, KJ Osborne, a solid 2. Demario Douglas isn't the guy I hate. Keyshawn Butte was a guy I had some talent, couldn't put together. Taquan Thornton was the guy that New England traded up 2 years ago with Kansas City to get. Hasn't turned it on. Jalen Reagor was a guy I absolutely loved coming out to TCU. I don't know why he hasn't put together. All I know is that when he was in Philly, he always had this sour expression, like somebody pissed in his Wheaties. He just seemed like not like football. And sometimes Philly affects people like that. But you got some players in New England that can play receiver. You got some decent players. Yeah, and you're right, and that's because it's a base 3-4 with a shit ton of nickel coverage. I'll never call nickel package base package. Sorry, no, I love it. 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 God, you guys are on fire today. No, yeah, it is stupid. I'll talk a little bit about it now. Okay. I'm an old man. I just look good. Still date 20-somethings because I can. I remember a time when the horse collar tackle was not only legal, it was, hey, look, if the guy gets by you, just grab, and you're coached that, you were taught that. It was a good play. Nobody looked at it as dangerous. And finally, the NFL Commission came in and said, hey, horse collar is illegal. Now, anytime you see it, you expect 15. It really didn't change the game. People thought it would from a defensive standpoint. I just don't see how. So you have a bigger running back like Derrick Henry, for example. I'm 5'8". Derrick Henry, I think 6'2", 6'3". Okay. I go to try to tackle him. I wouldn't now. But let me somebody's 5'8". There's a few 5'8", 5'9" defensive backs. Go and try to tackle Derrick Henry. Okay. Derrick Henry's so big and powerful, or uses that stiff arm, and you go down and you just have to drag him down because you're being run over. That could be called a hip drop. It could be, but it's not. It's Derrick Henry ran you over. I mean, you can't just, I'm going to tackle you, then let go. And a lot of you aren't going to remember this. There was a first-round defensive lineman from the Giants. They were playing the Tennessee Titans, and he goes and he tackles Vince Young, and he gets ready to spin him down to the ground, but he thought instead of getting a penalty, he stopped. Well, Vince Young did a spin and started running, and the defensive end looks at the ref, and the ref just ignores him, and he's like, "Hey, I can't get a penalty. I can't tackle the guy. What do I do?" Vince Young ended up spinning around, throwing a touchdown or completing a pass. So it was 4th and 10 or something. Vince Young, it was that long ago. So most of you don't know know what I'm talking about, but it's hard, but it's hard, man. It's hard, but it may not affect the game as much as you want. No, I agree, One Pride. And what it is this the offensive scoring dropped this year significantly, and people are ignoring the reason why. And it's not because offenses are evolving or defenses are evolving. What it is, it's the rule change about the players. So now with the practice squad players, take a look at teams. They are often, their defensive lines can go 8-9 deep. In college, they actually rotate offensive linemen. They got offensive linemen coming in. The NFL hasn't adopted that, but they've adopted it on the defensive side. So like you can like, for example, Chris Jones, he didn't play 100% of the snaps on the Super Bowl, but he played in important parts of it. I didn't look and see how many plays he wasn't playing. But the whole San Francisco offensive line, I believe for the most part, played the whole game. It's going to change eventually where teams start rotating guards and tackles into the game, maybe even centers. I doubt center, but that's going to be the next evolution of the game. And they'll have to expand the roster. Instead of 55 active, it'll have to be like 59 or 60 or something like that. But no, you're right, because you can't play defense. I don't like it because I like the fact that, look, I'm a Chiefs fan. Chiefs had really good defense. Chiefs won Super Bowl. I like good defense. I'm an old school guy. No, you're right. God, you guys are on fire today. What a great show, man. If we do have to trade back, that first pick either has to be quarterback or wide receiver. Same goes to pick 23. If we have to address those needs, I'm not highly confident how many wins we'll get with Brissett at quarterback. No, I agree. Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't agree. I think if you trade back 11, you take tackle. All right, and you could probably get Olu Fasanu, Talise Fuega, J.C. Latham. But I think that if you trade back, here's what you'll do. You'll go 11-23. You'll go 11 tackle, 23 quarterback, and 36 receiver. We were talking about Xavier Legette. That's a guy who would be your best receiver, and you can get him at 36. So I disagree with you. I would go left tackle, then quarterback, then receiver in the second round. And do you have, I don't know what you got in the third round as far as your trade capital, but you know what you could do. Okay, so you have a third round pick. You could trade down left tackle at 11, quarterback at 23, receiver at 34, and at 68, you could either trade back into the second round for a receiver or hang tight at 68 because there could be a guy that slides that people didn't think would slide. Take a guy like Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin looked like a first-round wide receiver. Then he weighed in at, I think it was 173, 176, ran a 4.49. So people have taken him out of the first-round conversation immediately. I was listening to Around the Sticks. They had a guy come on, and he said, after those big three, who's your number 4? And he goes, everybody's got a different opinion, but for me, it's Troy Franklin. You could get a guy like that in the third round. Xavier Legette, believe it or not, Corey said he's definitely a first-round guy. I think it's more likely that he's available at 68 than he goes at 30. So I don't agree, because I think if you trade down at 11, that's where you get your tackle. That's where you get your day one starting left tackle. Then at 23, you take either Bo Nix or Penix, which one is available. Denver's going to take one of those guys. They're going to try to get McCarthy. I don't think they're going to do it. Then at 36 is where you get your receiver. By the way, is there a chance that this happens when I do my mock draft with trades Monday? Maybe. The Trek Reviewer! I see the Raiders taking a kicker. The Homeland has a great point. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be opposed. Reading is hard. To Penix Harrison, but things have to go right. I don't want another situation where our deal player gets picked before him. Yeah, and that would be the issue. If you go ahead and you take Harrison at 3, does Denver and Vegas, who both need quarterbacks, take Nix and Penix, and that's your problem. So there. So Dan, I got a vent on you all how annoying it is to play Corey. Oh God, Funk is on fire today. I wish I had. You remember? Most of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. I know Keaton Talk Sports has no idea what I'm talking about. There used to be this game called NBA Jams. If you make 3 in a row, it's he's on fire. I wish I had that sound bite ready for Funk, because Funk's on fire. People can't comprehend that you can have a base package and never use it once in a game. Offense dictates what defenses do. If the offense is 3 wide and the D goes nickel, most teams go 3 wide 70% of the time. Now, yeah, and Funk, you're on fire. Exactly. Yeah, they did. Kendrick Bourne, yeah. Exactly. So, like, let's say somebody 5'8", 5'9" tackles Derrick Henry and falls down, and then he's holding on. Is that a 15-yard penalty now? Yes. I'm saving these comments here because I want to get through this. So, Dan Henry would make you. Oh yeah. Exactly. So here's the drill. So let's say you get trucked, right? And then you're falling backwards, but you got to hold on and spin. So is that now a penalty? Oh, what a great question, Dan. Who do you think is the greatest college quarterback of all time? What a phenomenal question. Oh God, you have my DM. I wish you would, because I can give you a few answers. First name that comes to my mind is Doug Flutie. The Hail Mary, I watched that live. That's how old I am. I watched the Hail Mary play live, and my jaw dropped. That was probably the most amazing game you'll ever see. If you don't know what I'm talking about, score is 40-45. The last play of the game, Doug Flutie scrambling around, throws a 60-yard Hail Mary, caught. The only other Hail Mary that was more amazing was Cordell Stewart, and it was funny because they had Keith Jackson calling the game, and Keith Jackson announced that, the game's over, but they're going to line up, and I don't think he can throw it, and he did. The ball went 80 yards in the air, and Michael Westbrook called it, and I watched that, and I was like, holy shit. But Doug Flutie's first name pops in my head. Man, Charlie Ward was really good. And let me ask you this, though. When you say greatest of all time, because the greatest season may have been Cam Newton, it may have been Joe Burrow, but because they weren't 4-year starters, you take away or add. So when you say greatest college quarterback of all time, I'm going career. And that's why, Doug Flutie took a bunch of no names, and I know they didn't win a national championship. I think they won a bowl game. Ty Detmer deserves to be in that conversation. Tim Tebow needs to be in that conversation. Danny Warfel is a name nobody's talking about, and he might be the greatest college quarterback of all time, won a national championship. Really, really, really good player. Bernie Kosar, who lost, might be in that conversation. What's his name? Cole Bennett, University of Hawaii quarterback, led them to an undefeated regular season. Then they lost by like 80 to Georgia. Andre Ware might need to be in that conversation. God, there's so many. God, what a fantastic question. I want to give you the first name that pops in my mind is Doug Flutie. And it sucks because I think in today's game he would be even better. Tim Tebow would also be there, but the greatest season of all time would either be Joe Burrow or Cam Newton. So, but I would take those guys out because they only had that one great season. So, Flutie and Tebow probably be the two. And I would look, and the thing is that about the thing is about Doug Flutie. I think in today's game he would be even better, and he did things nobody thought was like really possible. So, dude, you're a big dude. My play days, I was 6'2", 215, and we were taught to wrap and drop our weight on guys bigger than us when we were in angle. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so I played high school football. You're the only thing I'm lying to you. No, I was 5'1", weighed 98 pounds. I was a 13-year-old high school freshman who just loved football, and everybody. I was the smallest guy on the team, hands down. I wasn't even close, and I mean, I'm thinking now, I think every tackle I did was a hip drop in one way or another. So, oh God, how did I miss? Dan Marino should be there. Yeah. God, why didn't I see Dan Marino? Exactly. Starting at, I don't like that at all. Don't like it at all. Funk, God, you're on fire. Meanwhile, offensive players can stiff arm your face mask or even worse, lose their helmet to the point where they could leave with the crown. Yeah, so that's supposed to be a penalty. It's never called. It happens almost every single game. Yeah. I know it's early, but which team in the AFC worries you the most? Oh, you know what? That's easy. It's the Jets. It's the Jets. You're not going to get the amount of hype surrounding them. You have an Aaron Rodgers who is motivated and pissed off. Even if you don't have Aaron Rodgers pissed off, Tyrod Taylor, the last couple games that he played with the Giants, he was easily their best quarterback. I'm firmly convinced you could take Tyrod Taylor. If you gave him the day one starting job right now, he could take that Jets team to at least 10 wins. Defense is amazing. Breece Hall is amazing. You got Mike Williams, who just his only problem is you can't stay healthy. And at number 10, they're going to get a great left tackle. So the Jets, and I'll be honest with you, I'm halfway tempted to call the Jets my AFC Super Bowl favorite. I'm halfway tempted to because you got Rodgers. You have this great running back. You now have two really good receivers. Your biggest problem is offensive line, and you have that fixed. So, and I'm not calling Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses to answer. I'm calling pick number 10, which is probably going to be either John Olu Fashanu. And don't be surprised if the two New York teams switch. When if the Jets say, look, we need to get Joe Alt, we're going to take him at 6. You want to make a deal? And I can see the Giants going, well, Marvin Harrison's gone. We're going to get Oduze or Neighbors at 10. Let's make a deal. I can see it happening. The Jets. Cleveland scares me. I mean, Houston scares me. Jacksonville scares me. None of the AFC West teams do. Even though the Raiders ruined everybody's Christmas by beating the Chiefs. I mean, that was horrible. I know Denver for the first time since the Reagan era. Ronald Reagan. He was a president. He was before your time. That was the last time. It was the 80s that Denver beat Kansas City until this year. That's fact. I'm lying, of course, but yeah. And the team worries me the most. It's the Jets. I think they're ready. I really do. Yeah, Funk's on fire today. If you take away the tackling, watch NFL ratings go in the toilet. Exactly. And here's the deal, like, they're just not, they're worried about player safety, but they're doing things that don't make sense when they really need to do is the common sense stuff. Play on natural grass. Don't play on Thursdays. More padded practices. That way you're used to it. You learn how to do these things. And these are all the things the NFL should be doing. They should be playing less games, not more games. The NFL is going to go from 17 to 18. I think there's already a plan in play, but I think it's the next 4 years you're going to go from 17 to 18. If the NFL really want player safety, they would go lesser games. Every NFL stadium has to have like the thickest, fullest type of grass, and they can afford it. And like even like so, there was a problem 2 years ago, and Philly complained about it during the Super Bowl. The Chiefs complained about it during the regular season. I think there was one or two other teams that complained about the Arizona field grass because it kept on sliding. Because what Arizona is really interesting is that they actually grow the grass in a different location. It doesn't grow in the desert. And then they ship it in and move it in, and then they plant it down. You even in Detroit, you can bring natural grass into that dome. You just can't do it year round. You just gotta you got to do it during the game. Is it expensive? Is it difficult to do? Yes. Can it be done? Yes. And every NFL team should do it. Go watch old school Detroit. You know what they played mostly before domes in Detroit. Watch Minnesota and Detroit. It was just like Lambeau Field. It was mostly mud. Go back playing in the mud. By the way, you know what? NFL games are fun in the mud. I don't remember the last time I saw a mud game. That's really what the NFL should do is say, hey, look, let's bring back mud. You know what mud does? It's safer than that field turf grass shit, but it's more expensive. So the NFL really should go to natural grass. If you're going to stick with 17, 18 games, have 2 byes during the season and, more padded practices. And that's how you make it safe. So, Corey, man, I'm just glad to see you, brother. It's been a long time. DM me if you want to come on, talk draft, let me know, and I'll see if I can make it happen. This is awesome. Dan, you don't need to worry about the Jets if Rodgers runs for VP because Tyrod can't stay healthy. If the NFL wants to be better, they just need to ban Mahomes. If the NFL wants to be better, they just need to ban Kansas City from the playoff team. Nobody wants that to track reviewer. Nobody wants that TTR. Everybody hates that. The Steelers are looking really good right now with the moves they made. They could win the North. I disagree. I think that they're the 4th best team in that division. Russell Wilson, I don't think – I don't know if he's that much better. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And so it was I was watching NFL Live early this morning. So I think it was yesterday's show. And they're saying, how is this not a quarterback competition between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson? And there's an old saying in the NFL, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you only have 1. It is a competition. You could sit here and say, well, Russell Wilson's a starter, Justin Fields is the backup. But when Mike Tomlin came out and says, well, Russell Wilson has pole position, which I thought was a great analogy, phenomenal soundbite, by the way. It is a competition, and players know it, and it causes problems. There's the only time a quarterback controversy's ever really panned out, and it's iffy if you want to say it panned out, was in San Francisco, Joe Montana and Steve Young, because they did win several Super Bowls. It took Steve Young several years because that Dallas dynasty to get his Super Bowl, and he only got 1. Would San Francisco have won one of those Super Bowls in 92 or 93 if Joe Montana was there? Maybe. Nobody knows. But I don't think they can win the North. I think they're the 4th best team. I'm not sold on Russell Wilson being better than a top 15 quarterback. He's the worst quarterback in the AFC North. He really is. I mean, that's not a debate either. I mean, if you want to say, well, Deshaun Watson, he's injured and everything. He got injured mid-season, he's going to come back 100%. And the weapons that they added on offense, he's a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. I do love Patrick Queen. By the way, Pittsburgh could win 10 games and still finish fourth in that division. That division's loaded. So, but this is why I created the show, is that I want different people to have different opinions and bring them on the show and have it heard. This is never going to be an echo chamber. This is never going to be where I have to be right and you have to be wrong. I brought this up in previous shows. I used to watch a lot of red pill content. Look it up if you don't know what it is. And I stopped watching it. And one thing I hate about all these channels is that if you say something against it, it's instantly shut down. You're insulted. You're made fun of. You say they could win North. I got them finishing last. I want you to be able to say your opinion. I want you to say something that, hey, Dan, you know what? You're wrong. I mean, of course I'm right and you're wrong. But however, I want everybody to state their opinion. So I love this comment. This is a great comment. God, Funk's on fire. I gotta get that sound clip. I tried to do like sound clips. It's just that it's hard enough. So they don't care about safety. They care about money, and they firmly believe offense equals ratings. You're right about that. God, Funk's on fire today. Turf is faster than grass, and they won't force grass because it'll hurt bottom line. You're 100% right. Do you remember AstroTurf? And then people got way too hurt on it, and they're like, well, it's affecting the money. So they came out this field grass, which I think is actually cheaper than AstroTurf. And that's all it is. And they're like, well, hey, we can use this field turf. And it's horrible. Nobody likes it. And it should be all grass. And it would be. Here's the deal. It would be very hard, but not impossible. Not impossible. And it would be very difficult. Listen, if Green Bay can do it, Detroit can do it. I mean, it's not fair because you have a dome stadium and everything, but can you grow grass in the North? Well, Green Bay does it. I think Green Bay also has that field turf. I could be wrong about that. But every NFL team should be forced to have grass. And that's what they should be spending that collective bargaining agreements on is all natural grass. And even though it doesn't make for as good as on TV, an all mud game is fun. And I think if you have like one or two mud games, I think the NFL would really like it. The thing is, Funk's right, because they think that offense equals ratings. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. People will tune in to watch a defensive struggle. They want to see hard hitting and all that stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, it was tough. It sucked. There's so many injuries that just sucked, that ruined seasons. Talk about my Chiefs, which I'm sure you don't want to hear about, but the Chiefs were playing the Tennessee Titans, and I think it was Kevin Byard hit Travis Kelce. Chiefs fans said it was a dirty hit. I don't think it was, but knocked him out of the game. Tennessee came back, and the Chiefs offense was nothing. They had that was the game that the Chiefs lost. And then that draft, they drafted that Texas Tech quarterback. I can't remember his name, Patrick something. But my point is, anytime you have a player that gets hurt, it sucks. It happens, man. That's why football's such a great sport, is because you can be a world-class athlete. You probably don't remember that. No, you don't remember this. Before you're born. In the 80s, the Raiders brought the entire record-setting 4x100 team. They all won gold medals. It was Ron Brown, Willie Gault, drawing a blank on the third guy. The only one that didn't was Carl Lewis, who was offered a contract by the Raiders. He turned it down. He didn't want to play football. God, I wish I remember that third guy's name. They just couldn't play football. I think it was, and then Johnny Lamb Jones played for the Jets. He's a name you never heard of. He was an Olympic gold medalist, okay receiver. And Bullet Bob Hayes won the Olympic gold medal, set a world record, and then became a Hall of Fame receiver. That's unlikely, but you could be a world-class Olympic athlete and just not be able to play football. Again, a reference that you're not going to remember, but Reebok had this deal about Dan and Dave. They were decathlon members, and it was this huge promotion. And then one of them, I forget which one, didn't make the Olympics because he failed to qualify in the pole vaulting event. He went to a school called Azusa Pacific. Yeah, you're probably wondering, what the fuck's that? Well, one of his teammates just ran him over, and he's like, fuck this. Well, that guy's name was Christian Okoye, who was a soccer player. And he's like, I got to tackle guys like Christian Okoye. Fuck that. I'm going to the track field. So you could be a world-class athlete, can't play football. Does that make sense? Oh God, yes. Yeah. The Chiefs so when I first moved to Kansas City in 84, they played on AstroTurf, and then they brought Joe Montana here, and Joe Montana said he didn't want to play on turf, so the Chiefs got rid of it. And it was there for like forever. I mean, the Chiefs played on that AstroTurf forever. And then Joe Montana came here and they're like, yeah, we'll put on grass. Now, I think now it's that field turf. But yeah. By the way, it is almost, it's track. It's okay. So if you're not familiar with AstroTurf, I'm hope some of you ran track. It's basically track with, if you go miniature golf, it's a track, and then that miniature golf turf is on top of it. That's what AstroTurf was. It was very, very fast. Nobody liked playing on it, but it looked cool. It did look cool. The NFL would be better if Kansas City was in the. So I know this is funny. This is awesome. So actually, what they're doing is the next time the NFL expands, they really want to go from 32 to 36, but they want a minimum of 2 of the teams to be international teams. And the rumor is it's going to be London and Frankfurt, and then team number 3 is possibly going to be either in Mexico City or Toronto, and then San Antonio would most likely be that other team because they have an NFL stadium ready to go. How does all 710 lie to the Lions Eagles Super Bowl? I don't see a chance that you know what though. Here's a drill. Cincinnati. I actually no. The Rams at 19. Pittsburgh at 20, Miami at 21 are all soft spots for the Lions to potentially trade up to. I don't know if Latu falls that far, but if he does, that's what I look at as the sweet spot. Like that's where you want to go. And I could see it, but Latu has to fall. But yeah. Funk, you've been talking about Latu for a long time, man. Barrett Carter didn't declare for the draft next year. Carter would be my crush. Barrett Carter, I'm drawing a blank on that guy. A name sounds familiar. I'm just drawing a blank on him. Just drawing an absolute blank. Oh my God, I got Aaron. What's up, brother? So I had Gooch pop in earlier. Keys said that my mock draft was so awesome, he was intimidated. And he's also jealous that my beard was far superior than his. So, but Aaron, man, it's so good to see you, brother. Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not going to be able to watch that much college football this year. I'll probably watch about 50 games, if that, total. I'm gonna The plan is to still do Chiefs play-by-play. I may do some Raiders games. I may do some primetime games. That's all up in the air. My plan as of right now is to do Chiefs games, but I'm just not going to be able to watch as much college football as I'd like. And that's something I really want to do more of. It's just a time matter. Christian Koya, yeah. So it's funny. Yeah. You probably, well, me, I think you remember. Reebok had this promotion, Dan and Dave, and I forget which one it was, didn't make the Olympics. So he didn't qualify for the pole vault attempt. They were decathlon members. And the other one won the gold because like both these guys were favorites to win the gold medal. One of them didn't qualify, but one of them went to Azusa Pacific where he played with Christian Okoye. And once Christian Okoye ran him over, he's like, I'm just screw football. I'm going to play track and field. So, man, thank you so much, man. One of the things about my my videos is they're not getting a lot of traction. The time that I moved out to Vegas and in the several weeks I took off, I actually, since I was at, I think it was 1,825 subscribers. I'm at 1,790 something now. I've lost like 30 subscribers, and the draft, usually I get a lot more new subscribers. I'm doing something. Last year I got a lot of new subscribers during the draft. This year I'm not. And then the weeks I took off instead of just constantly posting has really hurt my channel. The draft videos haven't been taken off. The first one I did was one of the best videos I've ever made. I put a lot of time and effort into it. But the move out here has been costly. I unfortunately, it's a work thing. And anyway, I won't bother you with the details, but this next video, I have a lot of trades I want to do in rounds 1 and 2. So what I do is I have the trades written down on paper. I go through the draft simulator, and it's not there yet. We'll see how it works out, because I really want to start working on it as soon as possible, because it took a little longer to get the video Monday released, and this video coming up, the 2-round mock with trades, it may have to wait till Monday afternoon instead of Monday morning. But thank you so much, man. By the way, if you don't watch it, you will get anal probed by aliens. It's just science. So the Lions are interesting because the Lions, I actually thought, when I first did my mock, I liked Graham Barton. He played left tackle at Duke. He's probably going to play center or guard in the NFL. Then you signed Ziegler, and I think you re-signed. I'm drawing a blank on which one. So I do think that the Lions draft offensive line, just not at 1. And Jerzon Newton in my last mock draft, I had him going to God, where did I have him going? I think I had him going to Miami. He's a guy I think that it goes a little too early. But by the way, if he's available when Detroit picks, I do think that's a play. It's actually funny. I was a dealer at Argosy. I dealt at Argosy for several years and briefly at Ameristar, but I was an awesome blackjack dealer. So in Vegas and a lot of other places, the dealers get to keep their tips. That's how it is in Colorado. In Kansas City, they pull them together. And one thing about being a casino dealer, if you don't keep your tips, it can really wear on you, because a lot of guys that are tipping, they think because they're tipping you that they can just kind of be dicks, and they think that they're giving you money directly. Well, you don't see it because it's pulled and then divided by hours worked. It's kind of a neat process, to be perfectly honest. I made good money being a dealer. It's just that I got burnt out of the whining and the crying, and I don't have a tolerance for it. I play, but I don't complain to the dealer when I lose. So a lot of people did. I was a blackjack dealer in the 2000s during the height of the poker boom. I dealt for a couple. It's been a long time. It's kind of funny. Some of the people that I went to blackjack school with and craps class with are now pit bosses. My former team lead at Argosy, she runs Hollywood. Like, so she told me flat out if I wanted to. So I'll be honest. The way things are going right now, next year, January, February, I'll probably move back to Kansas City. The way things are, yeah. I'm not going to break the lease, but yeah. I worked at Argosy, so there's a good chance, but it was 18 years ago. I was an awesome blackjack dealer, but yeah, Murphy. He's the guy. He's the guy from West Virginia, if I remember right. Is that the guy I'm thinking of? Or is Murphy the guy you signed? No, I know what you're thinking. I shouldn't be this old with as incredibly good looking as I am, but yeah. Yeah. All right, bear with me here. Okay. I'm going to go back to some of these comments here. All right. So, what do you think of the new kickoff rule that was approved? It eliminates the squib kick, which I don't think NFL teams used nearly enough. It eliminates surprise onside kicks, which NFL teams I don't think you do enough. But maybe one of the, if you had to talk about top memorable plays in Super Bowl history, the Saints onside kick is one of them. The Steelers tried it in Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys, and it didn't work. But there's a clip somewhere of the Bill Cowher talking to the ref before the game, and he said, "Yeah, to start the second half, we're in an onside kick," and the ref was like, "Man, you got some big balls. You can't do that anymore." It's going to be very interesting to see how NFL teams, because it's never been done before. Some NFL teams are going to adapt well. I think some NFL teams are going to adapt poorly. I'm such an old school guy that I want to say I don't like it, but early on, some of the things I've seen on it, it kind of looks pretty cool. Me personally, I think it I understand there's a cause for safety. I really do. But I think it's part of the reason why, you risk being an NFL player. I think it's part of the risk of, hey, listen, can you be that wedge buster, which they don't have anymore? Are you one of those guys that want to set the wedge? Well, I don't have that anymore. I always want to say that I think the old school rules were better, having a good special teams. I mean, in 86, the Chiefs made the playoffs thanks to a really great special teams unit. Devin Hester was a big reason why the Bears advanced to, I forget which Super Bowl it was. They lost, but he was a big reason why they advanced. There was a time, I think it was 2002, 2003, Dante Hall had 4 kickoff or punt returns for a touchdown, like 4 consecutive games. It was an NFL record. Chiefs don't win. I know for a fact they don't win 2 of those games without them, and now this kind of eliminates a lot of that. I want to see how it affects teams. I really do, because I think some teams are going to respond very well, and I think some teams are going to respond very poorly. It'll be interesting to see. Because as my dad says, I'm a grouchy old man. I don't like the changes, but I'm also excited. So I'm giving you 2 different answers, and it's just that I just don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. A guy like Steve Tasker doesn't have a spot in the NFL. A guy like Steve Tasker might not make the Buffalo Bills today. There was talk at one point to just eliminate kickoffs and just you start off at the 25. And now they're like, well, we want kickoffs. We just want it to be safe. I'll be honest with you. What I remember when there wasn't special kicking balls, and they stopped doing it because I forget if there was too many end zones or not, but look, I get it. There's injuries that can happen, but that's why these guys make all that money. We'll find out. We'll find out. We're gonna find out. That's the answer. We're gonna find out. As an old school guy, I don't like it. As a new school guy, somebody who's open to change, we'll see. But it eliminates a lot of things that made the NFL great. You can't do a surprise onside kick anymore. One of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history is now eliminated. Can't do it. Steve Tasker, a lot of people think belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Probably doesn't have a place in the modern day NFL. Ray Guy, who was a punter, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Raiders chose him in round 1. I want to say he was drafted in 73. No way he goes in first. I mean, keep in mind, not nobody except for the Raiders thought he was first round punter, but having a good punter. Matter of fact, the Chiefs made a move. They got rid of their Pro Bowl punter this offseason. They signed Matt Ariza. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He was the guy who was drafted by the Bills, I want to say in the 2nd or 3rd round. His girlfriend falsely accused him of grape. I want to use grape. Grape. And Bills had to cut him. You Lions fans know what's going on. By the way, if somebody wants to inform me, I haven't heard any updates on the Cameron Sutton deal. Somebody heard something that I didn't. Please let me know. But signed for a minimum, and he's going to be a Chiefs starting punter. Chiefs had to shave some money because punters aren't that important in today's game. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. The NFL's making changes. The NFL's making changes. So we're going to find out what's going on. Right before I went on, I was going over Daniel Jeremiah's top 50, and I think a lot of these guys are going to end up in the third round. So this is such a great comment. Some people said Caleb Williams will be a bust. You agree or disagree? We don't know how any of these quarterbacks will turn out. So here's the deal. Quarterback, more than any other position, is predicated on what's surrounding you. I like what the Bears are doing so far is that you bring in Keenan Allen, a really, really good receiver, right? You got DJ Moore already. You're getting your running back situation ironed out. It looks like with pick number 9, you could draft either they could go defense, but you could also go offense. So you're putting the right player surrounding him. Okay. I watched him crying at the end of the Washington game. I watched him sulking after the Utah loss. And I really didn't like it. You lose games in the NFL. The fact that he seemed weak mentally. How are you going to handle things in the pros? And because of those things, I think he could be a bust. I think it's much more likely that he's going to be a bust than he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. And I've also seen some people that have called him the best quarterback prospect out of the last 10 years, putting him above, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence and all those guys. I don't see that at all. I don't see that at all. I watched him as a freshman at Oklahoma. I thought he was a lot of fun. I didn't see the guy who's going to come in and transform the NFL. But the number one thing about an NFL quarterback, you need everything else around you. You have to have the right front office that will bring you the best weapons. You have to have a good coaching staff, and you have to have a good plan. And when I say a good plan, I firmly believe that Mitchell Trubisky, you know what? I'm starting to think he didn't have it because he was horrible with Pittsburgh, and that seemed like a situation he should have excelled in. You have to have the right plan, because I used to think that the main reason that things didn't work out for him is Nagy, who came from Kansas City, wanted to use that whole giant Kansas City playbook, and Mitchell Trubisky just didn't seem to be able to process all that information because it was such a difficult playbook to handle. And I thought that what Nagy's biggest flaw is that he should have dumbed down the playbook for the rookie. Instead of having him learn 500 plays with variations on formation and everything, throw out 100, and then, and not have you go through 5 progressions. Maybe you go through 3. And I thought that was something that the Bears didn't do right with Justin Fields. I really thought they needed to make things simpler on him. Then there was several games where it looked like they did make things simple. It looked like he went 1-2 run. And you have to have a plan. I don't know what they're going to be. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Rome Odunze could have a better career than Marvin Harrison Jr. He's my favorite player in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. goes later in the draft and has a better career because they go into better situations. Like whoever gets drafted by New England, or New England going to make upgrades in the wide receiver room. It looks like J.J. McCarthy may go to Minnesota. Well, he's going to have a good situation that he's going to walk into. He's going to have the best receiver in football. He's going to come back healthy. He's going to come back probably with a $35 million a year contract. He has a good offensive line. They have a good defense. But it all depends on things outside of just being the quarterback. So Yeah, we're going to find out. I don't like the mental makeup. That NFC North is quietly becoming a brutal division. Just a brutal division. Okay, you got Detroit, second best team in the NFC, right? NFC Championship game losers. Not trying to rub it in, guys. Green Bay, who went to the divisional round, came very close to beating San Francisco themselves. Minnesota, which came really close to making the playoffs, 13-4 a year ago. Now they're setting themselves up to with a quarterback. A rookie quarterback on the Vikings can be a 10-win team. Then you have Chicago. But nobody knows. Nobody knows. And you can still debate which quarterback, what was it, 5 years, 2019, is that right? Burrow, Herbert, or Tua, which one's the best one? I think it's Herbert. And I say that because Burrow's missed so much time. Tua's missed so much time. Herbert's, who missed part of this year's, missed the least. Burrow's probably looked the best. This year, Tua played best. Of course, he's the only one who played all season. Going into that draft, I think the Chargers had Herbert as quarterback number one. Tua was the Dolphins quarterback number one. Of course, Cincinnati, who had the number one pick, had Joe Burrow as their number one player overall. And I was public. I said, man, this is a mistake. You ought to draft Chase Young number one. Get Teddy Bridgewater in. And I was wrong. But yeah, we don't know. We don't know. Yeah, exactly. It was a bad situation. And that's what sucks. We live in a day where a girl can say or do just about anything, and there's consequences whether it's true or not. And it's funny. I was laying in bed this morning and I was just trying to wake up, and I have the TV on, and oh, God, I shouldn't even admit to doing this. I've never seen this before, but it was on. I watched like 5 minutes of it as I was getting dressed. Steve Harvey's a judge, and he debates things. So like, so there's a guy and his girlfriend or whatever, and this girlfriend's suing him for playing too many video games, and everybody's against the guy instantly without hearing any facts or knowledge or anything, you know. And that's a type of culture we live in nowadays, where a woman can basically say or do anything. And yeah, that girl potentially ruined it. By the way, I mean, he's playing. I mean, congratulations, you get signed with the Chiefs for a veteran minimum, but I mean, he's lost millions of dollars in several years. So you're right, by the way, the Trek reviewer. Jim Kelly always wanted Tasker to play wide receiver. The only reason he did not, because he was so, yeah. Marv Levy didn't want him playing as a receiver. He was the special teams ace. And, you know, like I said, today's NFL, he probably doesn't make a team. He was a pretty good player. Pretty good player. Cordell Patterson signed a 2-year deal with Pittsburgh. He's now 33. How did they use him? Well, that's very interesting, Aaron. So great question, by the way. Cordell Patterson was with Arthur Smith in Atlanta, and Atlanta seemed to be the team that used Cordell Patterson the best. Arthur Smith, who's taken over as offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, wants to bring him in mostly because he's going to be a leader in the locker room, and that's something Pittsburgh's always liked to do, is bring in leaders. I think it's going to be a great fit on the offensive side of the ball, because Cordell Patterson's going to be able to help get everybody on the same page. I think it's going to be very important on the field that he helps both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields figure out how to use how to get this offense, you know, ironed out. because I don't care what they're saying. It is a competition between Fields and Wilson. In my opinion, it's a bigger deal that he's going to be in the locker room than how they're going to use him on the field. They're going to use him mostly as a running back because what they want to do is they want somebody who can pass protect, and he can do that. In his younger days, he was used as a kick returner and as a receiver. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to be a core special teams player, and he's going to get a very limited amount of carries. And he's brought in to be a leader, and Pittsburgh is going to need it. So it wouldn't surprise me if he has about 100 to 125 touches the whole year. Mostly as a running back, but like when I say mostly as a running back, wouldn't surprise me if he has 80 carries, 40 receptions, and he's just an outlet for either Fields or Russell Wilson. But it's a smart signing because Arthur Smith is the part of the reason. It's kind of funny. Part of the reason why they said they wanted to get rid of these quarterbacks is they wanted, hey, look, we're going to name a starter. We're bringing in a new offense. We're going to have that offensive coordinator, which is Arthur Smith, work with Russell Wilson and make sure Russell Wilson has an excellent command of his offense. That made sense. Well, hey, we're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. No, we're going to trade for Justin Fields instead. And now it's like, well, now you have to get Fields ready for the offense as well. So, there was some report that the Bengals came public and said that, yeah, he's getting up there. There was a report, I want to say it was like Cincinnati sports media, so I'm not holding it as the, like the Holy Grail or anything, but that T. Higgins was going to stay in Cincinnati at least this year, and that they weren't going to trade him. They're like, no, we're going to keep him here, and this is the place that he's best suited for. This is the best place that we can win. And that's kind of where I'm thinking is that he's going to stay in Cincinnati this year. If that ends up being baloney, your Patriots is a strong consideration. I wouldn't mind him in Kansas City. I really wouldn't mind him in Kansas City. I have a hard time believing Cincinnati really wants to make a deal with Kansas City. A real dark horse could be Dallas, who I don't think Brandon Cooks really panned out. Jalen Tolbert's a guy has a lot of talent. He was drafted out of, I think it was South Alabama a couple of years ago. Hasn't really progressed. Remember, they let go of Michael Gallup. So a guy like T. Higgins, but I'm kind of doubting that. There was talk early on about Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco getting traded. Well, if that happened, maybe you replace him with a guy like T. Higgins, which wouldn't be that much of a downgrade. I think Ayuk's a better player, especially the way that San Francisco's offense runs. But Detroit could use him. I think Detroit make a lot of sense. Detroit's an aggressive team. They may just say, you know what, we can use this guy. So, but with team I see, I think he's going to stay in Cincinnati this year. I really do. But we'll find out in the next couple of days. We'll find out. By the way, Keaton, if you want to, I haven't had a chance. I'm sorry. Yesterday and today was kind of crazy. I was planning on, if your video is out, to watch it tonight. But if it's already out, if you want to drop the link to your mock draft, which is not as good as mine. Everybody said so. But if you want to drop your mock draft into the comments, it would be most appreciated. I think everybody in the chat would really like to hear what you have to say. but everybody in the chat knows that my mock draft is better. And watching my draft video, it makes it much less likely that you're going to get anal probed. So that's just science. That's just science. So it's kind of funny. I've been going over Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks boards, and Keon Coleman was a guy that was getting a lot of hype as a first round pick. And now there's a lot of mock drafts. I think that Reader 4-round mock has him going in the 3rd round. I've been going over the Daniel Jeremiah top 50 big board in a lot of detail. I've been trying to figure out players and trades I can make in round 2. I like the trades that I've made in round 1, but part of my mock draft was having T. Higgins go somewhere. And by the way, Theo Reddick may end up going somewhere draft day. So may T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins stays in Cincinnati this year. I really do. Theo Reddick, on the other hand, I think will be traded either right before the draft, hopefully soon, or he's going to be traded draft day, and who knows where. Arizona! But there's a good chance Theo Reddick will be gone draft day. T. Higgins could be too, but the report I saw kind of made sense. I'd have to send it to you to find out for sure, but if I'm correct, I think the coach came out publicly and said, no, we're not going to move Higgins. That's not our plan. We want to keep him, and we'll see. Theo Reddick to Arizona makes a lot of sense. Arizona has 3 third-round picks, and Philly. I could see a deal where maybe Philly and Arizona flip-flop seconds and maybe one of those thirds. Because I've mocked a trade where Arizona and Pittsburgh flip first and third-round picks, and because Arizona has 3 of them. And they also pick, I think it's 102 or 103. Basically, it's the 4th pick in the 4th round. So Arizona has 7 picks out of 103, and it wouldn't surprise me if their second or one of those thirds ends up being for Theo Reddick. And Philly, I could easily see wanting to stockpile draft picks. It's something Philly's been very successful doing, is trading back, getting more draft capital. I mean, since they traded away, Carson Wentz. Since they traded away Carson Wentz, their franchise has done a really good job, and partly because they've just been drafting really well and keep using draft picks on multiple players. Well, Theo Reddick for a 2nd or a 3rd. Could the 27th pick overall be for Theo Reddick? I don't think so. But if I'm Arizona and I'm like, well, there's not a guy that I really like at 27. The way this mock draft is going, there is going to be a player that Arizona could use at 27. But could their 2nd round pick or one of the 3rd round picks be for Theo Reddick? Absolutely. I personally think that a 3rd round pick for Theo Reddick would be a really good deal for both teams, because Philly's loaded at pass rusher. Theo Reddick is expensive. And it's either this year or next year. I think its contract's up at the end of this year, and it's a high contract. So I think it would be a win-win for both teams. And then Arizona, of course, would have to figure some things out cap-wise later on. But that's the reason why they got rid of a lot of their players, is because they were in a bad cap situation. So Arizona would make a lot of sense. Carolina makes a lot of sense, but I really would have a hard time picturing them giving up one of their picks this year. I would be really hard pressed. They pick 33 and 39. 39 would make some sense. So, but Carolina would make a lot of sense. The Rams, which love trading draft picks for players, they won't give up 19, but they may be able to do something in the second or third round. I think I just gave you like 17. But theoretic draft day, yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Guys, I know it's a little early, but I'm going to wrap up. So Friday, no promises. I'm going to try to get a guest on for Friday. Please, if you haven't checked out my mock draft yet, check it out. Next Monday, I'm going to have a 2-round mock draft, and what I'm going to do is that Friday, we're going to talk draft, we're going to talk free agency, we're going to talk about everything that's going on. But next Tuesday, I'm going to go over my mock draft in some more detail. So, GTSY. All right. Guys, if there's any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, yeah. Perry says, hey, Dan, Aaron, and Keaton. Perry, what's up? Man, Perry, it's always good to see you, brother. I am fantastic. I was actually getting ready to wrap up, man. I was going to wrap up, but if you have any final thoughts, words, comments, suggestions, anything at all, I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Love to hear what you're thinking. And by the way, Perry, one other thing. It's not on my social media. Last night, I did get back onto Facebook, a different account. I just added like 1 or 2 people. I've been sending Facebook some emails. I got canceled on Christmas. When I did my videos, I would put it on Facebook. For some reason, they have it flagged as my live streams or one of my videos. They flagged as a copyright infringement, which I've been emailing them saying it's not copyright infringement because it's my channel. So yesterday, I created a new Facebook page. I'm not sure how much I am or am not going to use it. I'm just going to level with you. If I end up using it quite a bit and ends up being associated with the YouTube channel, then I'm going to do a lot of stuff on it. I'm kind of going to take it easy. But I had like 1,800 friends on Facebook, but I mainly used it. If you were a football fan, I just added you as a friend, and then anybody who posted anything like even close to pornographic, I just removed you. So, but I technically am back on Facebook, but I just set it up. I think I got like 1 friend. So that's all I have for right now. Guys, that's it. Mock draft Monday, 2-round mock draft with trades will be released on Monday. If you have not watched my mock draft video, do check it out. It's a good one. I am going to try my best to get a guest for Friday. No promises, but I'm going to see what I can do. My social media links are listed below. DM me like One Pride did. He let me know, hey, these new rules suck. You can DM me. Aaron hits me up from time to time. Corey, aka the Red Sea, he hits me up the same. So add me to social media. Right now, it's only Instagram and Twitter. If I end up using Facebook more often, I will put that link back in there. Right now, I'm leaving it off. We'll see what happens. Guys, thanks for all the support and love. Check out my mock draft video, and I hope to see you back again on Friday.